least start on time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Monday afternoon podcast. I've got Jimmy on here with me, but Jimmy is trying to get his volume working. We'll give him a second. What do you say, Jimmy? We getting a little closer? Oh, let's see what just happened here. No. So Jimmy's getting his headset going. So thanks for joining us. We'll give Jimmy a couple minutes. We're going to have a nice little podcast today. I got some interesting videos and a lot to talk about. Had a few competitions where U.S. Athletes competed in, which we'll talk about a little bit, and talk about senior judo. Normally, I always start all my podcasts out, or my calls, coaches' calls, talking about fundamentals, because I think that it's something that we have lacking in our country today. And we're talking about from day one, how do we start judo? How do we get to where we can actually move correctly, use our body correctly, and slowly build up a fundamental base where we could learn judo. It's not unlike any other skill that you do, that you you need to have a solid fundamental base in anything you do. Whether you're an electrician, whether you're a chef, whether you're a mechanic, whatever it is, there are basics that you need to be able to have down if you're going to do it. You listening, Jimmy? You can't chime in? Let's see if I could help him with the volume. I don't know how to do that, how to help him with the volume. You have your earbuds in? Oh, let's see if I got. Jimmy, at the bottom there's circles. Can you see where the can you see where the microphone is? Do you have an option for how you're doing it? Still not working? Oh, now it looks like you're Jimmy. Are you there? I can't hear you. I got you here on the third thing, but I still can't hear you. Hold it, his joint, add to the stream. Let me see if I can do this. There, I added you to. Can I hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
Perfect.
We're here, guys. I'm sorry. So, I started. You heard me. I talked about we had a couple competitions this last couple weeks. Cadet, junior, and senior. Certainly appeared like the junior Pan Ams were the hardest of the three, with the exception of maybe the 63 kilo women's, where they had some top athletes there. Other than that, it appeared that the junior Pan Ams were a little bit harder, which is good. It's good to see some young athletes coming up, at least in our union. Looks like Brazil's getting better, having better young athletes. Nice to watch. And of course Canada's still. I think Canada's still pretty strong.
Yeah, the big thing with Canada is they didn't bring the number one team for the senior Pan Ams.
No, of course. Well, they brought their number 163 kilo. I mean, they left Klimkate at home. Adding Klimkate to that.
Well, on the men's side, the 81 kilo top guy wasn't there. They brought Keegan Young. They
No
didn't
question.
bring the number one men's team, but they had some of the top girls there. But you're
So
right.
one of the things I want to talk.
When you look at the Brazil team from top to bottom, and you look at cadets, juniors, and seniors, there's no question they stood out amongst the rest. Not only with the most gold medals at every single level, but just the level of their judo and
Quality, yeah.
how advanced they were at such a young level. Their young kids are really talented, and they're playing really good judo.
Yeah, there was a time, certainly when I competed and when you competed, 80s, 90s up. I mean, Brazil had a really good judo team, and certainly when I competed, I think they had this the Bank de Brazil was the sponsor, so they had a lot of money, and they had a solid team, a real solid team. And when you were competing and I was coaching, they had a pretty solid team too.
Absolutely.
They're winning medals at the World's Olympics, gold medals. It seemed to me, now I was out for a while, that they slowed down a little bit, but now they're back up again. When you see the cadets and the juniors, you know that they're building from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I think the United States were struggling with a little bit.
Yep.
So I put some videos together because I watched something. I don't know if you got to see this, but we'll see a little bit of it. That when I was competing, when you were competing, the United States had several events where we had to compete against our top players in the United States. We had I thought we had a pretty deep bench at that time. Guys were good, really good. And we saw some people that were good enough to go, but just happened to be behind the wrong guy, which is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do that anymore. And I think it's a really, really big loss to our whole system that we don't compete against each other on a regular basis.
Well, if you look back when I was competing anyway, every year we had the sports festival, which was it was either the top 5 or the top 8, depending on what year, but it was the best 5 or 8 guys in the country that all got together and competed in a round robin style tournament. And it was part of the U.S. Olympic Committee event series. And that was an every year event. So every year we were forced to fight each other in that fashion. In addition to that, every year we had the national championships, which meant something to everybody. And almost everybody always competed in the national championships. In addition to that, every year we had the U.S. Open, where we had, the best athletes from around the world used to come to the U.S. Open. And we had a 80-person deep per division tournament where we would get to compete against not only the best U.S. players, but Japan, Brazil, Korea, Germany, UK. Everybody used to come from around the world to come to our Olympic training center and compete and then train together afterwards. In addition to that, we had the world team trials or the Olympic trials, which was every year or every 4 years. So I mean that right alone there is 4 tournaments where the best players in the United States were forced to fight each other on a regular basis, and that built the depth because a lot of those top players were our juniors, and our juniors got to compete against our best seniors, and that gave everybody an opportunity to develop, and it kept the older guys, hungry, motivated, and because the younger guys were pushing them all the time to try to knock them off, And we did have I would say a good system, but it was good for development in this country, and it gave us that bench depth.
There was a time I was in. I think I was in Tbilisi. No, I was in Moscow, 86, and the Soviet team was a strong team. 3 world champions on their team, and they had a team match there with their junior team, and that was 21 and under. And it was a 8-man team for some reason. And the seniors won in the final match. You figure that 3 world champions on the team, and they won in the final match. I was amazed. As much as I, as a competitor at that time, I still was a huge fan, and I couldn't believe how good that junior team was. Yeah. And I, for people that may or may not know, they had Sokolov, they had Podobny, and they had Verichev, and they had an incredible team at that time. And still they were life or death to win against their junior team. Now
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing that I think is critical, in my opinion. In my opinion, and we don't do that. So I stumbled across I stumbled across this video that I was watching of the All Japan sectionals. I don't know if you saw any of that,
No.
but you're gonna see some today because everyone who's anybody in Japan had a fight in those sectionals. Now you would think there should be a walkover for maybe Nagase, two-time Olympic champion, Hifumi Abe, Uta Abe, Moroi. All those guys should have Sonoda. All those people should have walkovers. Not in Japan, they don't.
Right. It's a brand
So,
new it's a brand new contest, and if you want to win this title, you're like everybody else.
and God, it is so. When I saw that, it just brought to my mind how we're missing something. We're missing so much by not competing with each other. Our best people. I don't know why we do it. I don't know who makes the decisions. I know if it were me, and I'm sure if it were you, we'd be competing and training together at a regular basis every year. Let's push each other. And again, we can't recognize our 15 and 16-year-olds. When you're 20 and you got the 15 and 16-year-olds at your camp threatening you, you know who they are. And going one step further with Israel being the new coach, how's he going to recruit people at a camp like that? And at those kind of tournaments, it's easy to recruit people that are 15 and 16 to come to your training center rather than 24, 25, where they may have one quadrennium left, maybe.
It's already too late.
Yep.
At 20, in the mid-20s,
Right.
we know it's already too late, right?
Without a doubt.
The best time to get them is between 14 and 18 is really the best time to get them.
Mhm.
All the way up to the early 20s. After that, it's too late.
For me, I was fortunate that I got to coach when your dad and my brother were running the seniors. I was running the juniors, and I was with the junior team for like almost 6 years. I went to Junior Worlds, Junior Pan Ams, constantly every camp, and those were the camps that were done. I got to know the athletes really, really well as we were moving up, and recognize talent and stuff. But we just don't do anything.
The one thing I will say, Steve, is there's a movement right now in this country where a lot of the top juniors, a lot of the top cadets, they're developing nicely right now. They're actually going around the country competing in all the big tournaments, going to Golden State Open. They're going to tournaments up in New York. Like there's some kids that are traveling quite a bit. A lot of the kids who side teams, kids who side team right now, they're traveling quite a bit and they're competing in a lot of the domestic events, getting a lot of their team valuable matches. And those kids are fighting cadets and juniors or juniors and seniors, and they're getting 10, 12 matches on a weekend, and they're doing it many, many times during the year, which is helping those athletes develop nicely.
No
And
doubt.
I kind of like seeing that. And the young kids are hungry, and you can see that they're starting to come up and they're starting to reach a new level.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of those kids improve, in front of our eyes. We're watching them get better. So I agree with that. I agree. It's just not enough.
For sure, the whole country has to do that, right?
It's just not enough. It's not enough. And I would, I would hope that the powers that be start, listening, watching, making some changes so we could do that more. Certainly, in order to make a world team, you're going to have to travel to Europe or Asia or somewhere to fight in the types of tournaments at a great cost, as opposed to traveling, just around the country, which you can take a short flight, a long drive, or find another way that's not too expensive. The other thing too is that a lot of the competitions force you to pay per person per night, as opposed to getting 4 or 5 in a hotel room like we used to do many years ago, and cut the costs down. So it's a challenge, and there are a handful now of some really good tournaments in the country. So I'm glad to see that we don't have the local ones as much as we used to, but we're getting more. So I'm not unhappy with that. So in our video thing, and I'm just like when I did my call with Travis. Travis had no clue what I was going to show. He liked it that way. So I'm going to start with this video and the one following it. So the reason I'm going to start is so this is a golden score match. This is Nagase. I believe that's the one I have here. Yeah. Now two-time Olympic champion here in a golden score, and he's gonna. You see him try to knock the guy down, and look what happened. He fell right into a choke.
And he's out.
And he's out. He's out. Now, for those of you on the call that haven't seen this guy play, this guy is really good.
Well, he won 2 Olympic gold medals. He at a weight class that's one of the toughest in the world historically, 81 kilos, 2-time Olympic champ, and I believe a bronze medalist on top of that. I mean, that's a tough dude.
So I came across this video afterwards, and it's long. It's long, but we don't have to watch it all. But I'm going to watch. This is the number 2 guy to Nagase. This is the guy that stays home. So look, this guy is a beast. Couldn't believe how good this guy was. Tachiwaza. What's his name? His Newaza.
Well, he does have a red back patch, Steve, which means he's world champ.
Did he win the Worlds, Tajima?
That's what it says.
He's still number 2 to Nagase.
He looks like he's a bit heavier than 81 kilos, but no, this Dutch guy is 81. Yeah, and that guy has won the French Open a number of times.
Yeah.
Wow.
You ever see this guy before?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just was, impressed, and obviously I don't.
And let's look at the size of the guy he's fighting. This guy's like 100-something kilo guy he's fighting here.
So it's interesting that
that's no small guy. Oh. This must be the All Japans.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't get this out. This is just him at a training camp. We finish this? Okay. So I thought that it was interesting to me watching the number 2 guy, and how good he was, and so I actually had two videos of that guy. I broke him in half, but I only wanted to show one. But that guy's a beast, and I'll tell you, for any of you that want to watch judo, take a look. We're watching the All Japan Championship and the All Japan Sectionals. So the 48 kilo Olympic champion Sonoda, she fought in the All Japan no weight class. And it is just amazing to watch her fight those big girls.
Wow.
And she's just an man, and she tries to get everyone's arm. I don't care how big you are, she's going after you.
That's great.
It's great. So just getting an idea of so here we are in the in the selectionals, and you're watching the girl in white is Uta Abe, and the girl in blue is going after her. Just constantly being challenged. And here's the Fumiabe. So Jimmy, they changed the rules for this tournament.
Yeah. They were allowed to grab legs, correct?
And there were 5-minute matches.
This guy almost gets him in Juji for crying out loud.
Sure does. So the idea that we see these guys that look like they're unbeatable. These guys are challenged all the time. They're challenged in practice every day, and they're challenged. They have to fight in Japan. There he goes.
Overthrown.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let me get up here again here. So as I look at that, it came to mind, and I wanted to talk. I've got some more videos that we'll watch, but and some of them are really good Newaza videos. But there's a when you're training to be the best of the best in judo, it's hard to do it without training in Japan. There's a level of tear down, the level of styles that you fight. There is a different feeling when you finish training there for 3, 4, 5, whatever, however long. You've stayed there a long time at sometimes. For me, I think 5 weeks was the most. Let me get up here.
Yeah, my dad sent me there for first time I went for 6 weeks. Well, not the first time I went, because the first time I went with the Olympic team. I went with you guys to train in '88. But when I went on my own for the first time, I stayed for 6 weeks. I went home for 2 weeks, and then he sent me back for another 6. So that was my summer that year of high school.
It's tough. Well, I'll tell you, for me, when my brother says, "Listen, we're sending Jimmy with you to Japan. You got to take care of him," and I said, "Take care of him? Who's going to take care of me? I barely get out of there alive." But that was a fun trip for all of us.
And you're one of the biggest guys in the room. I was one of the smallest guys in the room. Look, I think about how I felt.
Yeah, all I can tell you is it was never easy, never easy there for me. And there's a type of judo fitness you have to have when you fight at the highest level, and it's everything. It's not one thing. It's conditioning. It's your body conditioning. It's if you don't press yourself where your body's going to get a second and third wind. I mean, you can't. It just doesn't happen. You got to train for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that's really unique that most people don't ever experience is that in Japan, you have to develop pure judo to survive, because you are doing 10 to 15 rounds of randori without any rest. I mean, 30 seconds to change partners and regroup and tie your belts. But outside of that, you're doing, an hour to an hour and 20 minutes straight randori. And you no longer can press away with your arms. You can't be stiff anymore. You can barely hang on to the gi anymore. And, standing up off the ground is exhausting because you've already had to get up 300 times during the practice. So, you just learn to stand in front of the other person and put your hands on the gi and learn to defend everything with your posture and your hips. And that's where you develop your judo, because you've got to find a way to score without, being too physical, because you're not physical anymore. You've got to be able to throw with your posture, your leverage, your timing, your technique, and it's a different feel. And when you leave that practice room, you're exhausted. You've got nothing left. That's all I can say is you've got nothing left. And you just walk home with your bag and you put it over your shoulder and you look at the train steps in front of you and you go, all right, I'm going to get up the steps. I'm going to make it up these stairs. And you just pick yourself and drag yourself up the steps. And then you sit down on the train and you're so glad you got a seat. And then you got to walk all the way to your hotel or wherever you're staying. And, it was walking is a struggle after training in Japan,
Carrying the bag.
Right. Carrying your judo bag that weighs 15 pounds. Right. So that's where warriors are made. And I can tell you that it's a great experience. It's a unique experience. It's something that every judo player should do at some point in their life, but be prepared. you don't get in shape in Japan. You had better be in shape before you get there, or you will not survive.
Oh yeah.
So
I have some stories about that. People going there saying, "I'm going to go to Japan and get in shape." No, you're not. No, you're
you're
not.
gonna get hurt, is what you're gonna do. So
And again, depending on where you're staying. I mean, when I trained, Koga was a freshman. He
right.
was a world champion, but he was a freshman. I mean, the Yamamoto. They had a team at Nitai then that was super. And again, those guys had people right below them. So my God, so it's something that and it's Japanese judo it's different. Now, of course, you have to train in Europe too, but Japanese judo is different. And for me, I couldn't get that feeling of complete exhaustion training anywhere other than Japan with judo. I mean, being where your fingers can't move, you can't. I mean, you just can't get up for the second practice of the day. You think and forget about the train ride. But the second practice of the day is just so freaking hard to get up from. And again, the judo stamina, judo fit, where you can get out there and have an exhausting match and get back up and fight again. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. So, so
which goes back to your point, Steve, when you talk about, United States athletes competing and training with other United States athletes. Like, you have to understand that we're not against each other. We're all in it together. And if we don't work together, we won't have anybody at the top, because we need all of our 73, 81, 66, doesn't matter the weight class you're in. You don't have enough bodies at your dojo to be good enough to compete with the rest of the world. So unless you're going to spend all of your days in Europe or Japan, at your home dojo, or when you're training in the United States, you have to have enough bodies around your weight to get the randoris in, to get the practice in. And you need each other to push one another, to be in the room together, and then the cream rises to the top. And you also challenge each other by being in the same room and pushing and outworking and seeing the other guy train hard. Like, it motivates you to get better. And there were a lot of young guys I was the younger guy at one point, then I was the world champ for a while, and then I was the older guy for a while, right? Like, and at the end of the day, like, I always had guys in the room that were pushing me, whether they were older or whether they were younger. They were always coming after me and getting me every round and making me better. And you need that.
Absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. And we need to do a lot of it. A lot of it. I mean, so there's no question. So as I continue with my Japan topic, I've noticed it from my perspective that over the past 4 or 5 years, 6 years, that the Japanese were struggling with the Europeans with their size and their strength, and it appeared they were having trouble. I mean, 48 kilos was dominated by Daria Bilidid, and and 57 was Deguchi. There was, and especially the bigger girls too. It seemed like the Japanese, the team started focusing a lot more on Newaza. It was absolutely clear to me watching them win on the ground and how they do it. And one of the things that I try to teach my students that they don't do well is, people that are good in Newaza are are almost always on offense. When they're down on the ground, they're looking for the time to get the advantage. And I don't see that. And I love it when I could see someone who is, looks like they're on the defense, but they're looking for that one opportunity to get the advantage. Like this, just simply coming on, taking advantage of a situation, and getting back to the top. I just don't see that often, where someone who is always looking, to get the advantage. Now, this video cut off early. He ended up pinning him with that, with the half that he did and getting his leg out. But I mean, he was someone who was down. He was just looking for his spot where he could get the advantage rather than grabbing onto the ground and hoping for the best. And rather than standing up and walking away, he went right back into that. And at this point, the match was over.
I like to say it, I like to say, Stevie, that when you're in Newaza, you have to be a hunter. You have to hunt for things. You have to go for it. And you have to view it as an opportunity to win the match. This is my chance to win the match. If I can get the guy down here, it's over. I don't stand back up with him. I don't have to worry about getting thrown. My chance to win is right now on the ground, and I'm going to do everything I can to get this guy off of his base, to roll him, and to get him into a situation where I can finish him. And really, right now in the U.S., what I see is, our most successful athlete right now is Jack Yaneska. Let's face it, right? Like, he's our number one athlete, and one of the things that he does on the ground is he hunts. He's constantly attacking with his move, right? And he's going to turn the guy over and pin him, and he ends up pinning 50% of his wins are probably from the pin. Yeah. But he is good in Newaza. He's pressing the Newaza, and he's trying to win on the ground at all costs. And as a result of that, he's getting his way through to the medal rounds. And in fact, this weekend he took a gold at the Pan Ams, beating a good Brazilian. And how did he beat him? He pinned him. The guy got tired. He pinned him, and the guy did a sumi. He got tired, and Jack pinned him in Newaza, and he won the gold. And good for him. He's taking advantage of winning opportunities, and it's paying off for him. And what I see with Christopher Velasco, who prior to this year, I would say didn't do any Newaza, really, Chris. And the last few times I've seen him fight, he's pressing on the ground. He's winning matches on the ground. And I'm really impressed that he's starting to develop his Newaza, and it's also starting to pay for him. So I think our young team sees, hopefully they got a leader in Jack, and they're seeing that in order to win, you've got to be a tough match. You've got to be able to match everybody on your feet. You've got to be able to grip well, which both Chris and Jack grip really well. Right on right. They're really tough, and they got to win their matches and take advantage on the ground. And that's what they're doing. And I'm happy to see it. And I hope that the rest of them continue to learn and watch what the keys to success really are. And, there's still a ways to go. There's still a ways to go for those two athletes, but this progress, this improvement, I like what I see.
Yeah, and it's no different than Tachiwaza. You got to train hard when you do Newaza Randori. You got to work when you're tired. You got to be able to develop, your skills by working at that high pace at all times. Rather than rolling around and like we see too many times.
Yeah, when you don't win, when you don't take advantage and win that opportunity that you should have won, a lot of times we lose the match and we had a chance to win. When, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Lenny Scheinfeld. Okay. He fought the Brazilian in the finals of the juniors, 66 kilo. I was in Peru. And in the finals, he got picked up and thrown for a Wazari or a Yuko and then pinned for a Wazari. He ended up getting out of the pin. And later on in the match, he had the guy on his back in a half guard situation where the guy was desperately hanging on to his leg. Listen, Lenny, you're down by a Wazari and a Yuko. The chance to win is right now. If you get your leg out, you win the match. He failed to get his leg out. He ended up losing the match, but he had his chance to win. And that situation has to be life or death. I win or I don't. Well, and you've got to attack it like this is your chance to win. And I mean attack it with causing as much pain to the opponent as possible, being as aggressive as possible, not letting the ref have an opportunity to say mate, never stopping to work until you get your leg up and win the match,
Sense of urgency.
Correct.
This is my time. This is my opportunity. Speaking of that, even the best players in Japan, I'll get this to the beginning, you look at Uta Abe, who's obviously Tachiwaza's phenomenal. Here she's just fighting. Just watch her transition
Not for
And,
nothing, but I think this is. Oh no, this is the sister. This
oh,
girl's sister just won the Europeans this
oh,
weekend.
okay,
This
yeah,
this weekend in at the
right,
57
right.
at 57 kilos.
So whenever the match goes to the ground, is the opportunity to win, no matter who you are. You know,
Right, and this is the gold medal match.
yep. And step by step, how you get your leg out. Step by step. Uh,
Well, it's one of the biggest things that our kids fail to do. If you watch some of our young kids, the thing that they fail to do in Newaza, especially when they're trying to get their leg out, is they fail to control the upper half of the body.
mhm.
They don't control the head, they don't control the upper body, and they just focus on getting the leg
Right,
out.
right,
When they get the leg out, the person turns to their stomach because they didn't they didn't secure the
right,
top first.
right, right, right. And for those of you watching, there's some great videos on American Judo uh, on the platform. Just go through the Newaza videos, and you'll see step by step how to do that. And it's correct. It's step by step, and that's what Abe did. We could see what my new favorite player. I'm sorry. Just she's relentless at going, for the arm right there. You see the transition? Look how easy that transition was.
And this girl doesn't want to give up either.
Right. She'll
She's
get it. But I mean, that just the transition, the idea that she had the, she had the osakomi and right there. And as the girl was getting up, again, she does Newaza so often she could feel it coming. So she's going through the transition right away into the juji. Yeah, she's really good. We'll watch her one more time. Just simple how she gets an arm. She's constantly going for it. There we go, right there. I don't see that juji that much anymore, Jimmy. When you were younger, I used to see it all the time. The juji
Yeah.
from underneath. What?
Yeah, no, it's not done that often anymore.
I don't see that often, but again,
It's so basic.
it is
That's a
basic.
basic move.
Yeah, just very impressed with her. So, it's again, for me, when I look at learning judo from day one as we grow in fundamentals, it's Newaza fundamentals are every bit as important as everything else. You need to be doing those Newaza fundamentals. Get used to grabbing an arm, hooking an arm, turning over, rolling your body. Get used to it, where you can. When you start learning the techniques become so much easier to do and fit in when you learn at a young age. When you're a kid and you're just rolling around and kids are playing games and they're doing what they're doing, but they're learning good fundamentals. So it's easy. And then, of course, doing enough Newaza where you learn the game, you learn how to bait people, you learn how to know what's coming when someone's turning in a certain direction, that you let them go so you get the arm or you get the choke or wherever you're gonna be. So it's important.
It's so easy. It's so easy to improve so quickly in Newaza. There's less of a. Of course, it has a feel to it, right? There's a feel, but it is very sequential. And whereas this Tachiwaza, it requires it's sequential as well, but it's a three-dimensional plane that you're working in, and everything's unpredictable. Whereas Newaza is predictable. and you know that there's only so many options when you're on the ground. They can go that way, this way. There's only so many ways they can turn, and you have to anticipate what they're going to do. And if you do, then you can control your opponent on the ground. It's much easier than standing because there's so many different options that they can do. You can't predict what the person's going to do. But in Newazi you can. So it's the fastest way to put a lot of time in and get good really, really quick if you put in the time.
Without a doubt.
And also, a majority of the world, I'm not going to say everybody, but there's a majority of judo players, their newaza is not strong. Especially offensively, they're not strong. So when you're down there, you only have to worry about one thing, is how I'm going to get the other person, as opposed to maybe if I go down there, they're going to get me. And that doesn't really happen. So it's so much, your percentage of winning is so much higher on the ground if you focus your time and effort there.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. For me, I say that newaza is mechanical. Step 1, step 2, step 3, you start learning, getting a feel. And it's, to teach it, it's so much easier. If, for example, when I'm teaching Sankaku to kids, teach them the technique, then let's sit in the move. Now do it against resistance. So you start doing it and they start feeling the way people resist. Then you go and you fix, you adjust, you fix, you adjust. You get used to all those things.
Absolutely.
Someone says to me, I want to teach my kid Tayatoshi. I said, you got 5 years. Maybe. I mean, and I think I'm a good teacher. 5 years. The feel for Tayatoshi, knowing, it's a difficult throw to learn to do. And even if you could do it on a crash pad good, finding it in the fight is hard. Setting it up is hard. It takes years and years to do that. So if you are a competitive club, if you're not spending 50% of your time doing newaza, you're making a mistake. It's an absolutely best way to have success if you want to win. And either way, right? Either way. But if you want to win, that's the best way to go. I did that. You did that with your kids at a time where we're spending more time in the judo club. It's absolutely necessary. What else did I have here? So what the other thing I see in Japanese judo today is so the 90 kilo Moroi, who's Olympic champion, he does a lot of ashiguruma. Now, I haven't seen a lot of ashiguruma on the mats for years. And he also does a real good hooking osoto. Now, he's a lefty, left on right. It's open that way. But he does a lot of hooking osoto. And I'm watching the Japanese players, and I'm starting to see it carry through a little bit where there's more people doing ashiguruma and hooking osoto. Now, the Japanese style osoto was a little different than the hooking osoto, kind of. And which one is this? What do I have?
Kind of like a neo osoto, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of osoto is coming back. As I do my 3 calls a month and I'm preparing videos, I'm watching an awful lot of judo, and I'm just seeing this with the Japanese, and getting that reach and grabbing that leg and being able to follow through, and again, left on right, there it is, and again, I've seen Moroi do that an awful lot of time, an awful lot. I had one more video that I guess this was a short one. I don't know why I threw this in. I cut this short. This is just an Ochigari. We'll play it. I don't know why I had this. Just driving through. I happen to like Ochigari. I can't help it.
Maybe you're going to use it and show it to your girls, because I know you have them do Ochigari. How they going to continue to drive through the throw?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Keep their head on one side and their leg on the other.
Drive.
Notice, like, that's one thing. If you notice, one thing I teach that's very important for a standing Ochigari is that your head is on one side and your leg is on the other, and that's how you drive. So you have balance. You can't bring your head to the same
Yeah,
side as your leg, or you get countered. So
yeah.
that's
I mean, again, there's lots of pieces. Certainly, that's absolutely necessary. But I mean, getting your hips and shoulders turned out so you're chest to chest, so you could drive, rather than being, perpendicular and getting countered, which happens.
falling to you're falling to your knees and
Right,
bailing and then
right,
getting
right,
countered.
right. Not keeping your supporting foot under you. It's again, it's technique, and that's why I keep saying that as we learn when we're young, learning the fundamentals, how to keep your feet under your body when you're moving, so you step in, you're never your hips are always below your shoulders, and again, just basic fundamentals about judo that once they have them, teaching the techniques becomes so much easier.
Yep.
So much easier. So I think that that does it with my videos. I think that two things that we talked about that I thought are important is certainly, you know, uh, competing as much as they can. Hopefully, USA Judo will find a way to compete more. It's interesting because we have there's going to have to be an Olympic trials. I don't know how they're going to pick a team. Uh, I don't know if Los Angeles is going to be ready for the Olympics in 3 more years, but whatever the case is, we have to pick a team, and I don't know how we pick it without having a trials. So they're going to have to fight each other there, and I would like to hope they do it a couple years in advance so people get used to it a little bit, to fighting in the trials. No reason we can't have that more than once a year for different competitions. Who's going to be number one?
I
Uh,
agree.
when we were competing, Joseph, any tips on executing Ouchigari against a very stiff arm? Joseph, go to one of my calls. I talk about Ouchigari all the time. If you're an American Judo member, you should be able to come to my calls. And if not, send me an email at steve@americanjudo.com, and I'll talk to you all you want about Ouchigari. How to start it, how to do it. Doesn't matter, tall, short. I like talking about Ouchigari. So I hope we make some changes. And, today we're talking about sending our top players to Japan. We got to worry about where we send them because they're not really up to training at the top places.
Right.
And that's a shock to me when I'm asking, where could I send my girls? I said, not yet. Not yet. I go, oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know. And so that's great. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the call. We're going to do it again next month. We're going to try to get Jimmy a little better at functioning on the platform. That's going to be my job. And for those of you who don't know, we're having a camp this weekend in Boston. It's going to be great. Our camps are always full with a lot of great athletes, a lot of great coaches, a lot of great randori, and some good teaching. And certainly, we're always focusing on Newaza there too. So if any of you want to come, even if you want to come and be a spectator or come on the mat and watch, everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. It's being sponsored by American Judo and Project Gold. So everyone is welcome. No, there's no fees. So if you can make it, come on by.
Yeah, I've got the team from Canada coming down. Vitali's team from Canada that driving down from Toronto, 8 to 10 hours to come down and train with us for the weekend. Thursday, 2 sessions Friday, 2 sessions Saturday. It's at Pedro's Judo Center in Wakefield, Mass. We've got the team from the Olympic Training Center in North Carolina coming up to train with us. Colton Brown's got a group of kids coming from his training center. Steve's got some kids coming. Steve and Aaron are sending some kids out. So, we've got a good group of and plus all of my athletes will be there for the weekend training as well. So we should have good, 60 to 80 people on the mat training every day, getting better and like-minded, right? All young, hungry, ready to learn anything and ready to battle so that we can be ready to fight when the time comes.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere. All the coaches there are for everyone. We're working with all the kids together, and we do have some instructional time too. and it's great instruction. So it's if you can make it, come on. If you can't, make the next one because it's worth coming.
And there's no cost. It's all sponsored by like Steve said, by Project Gold and American Judo System. So come on out and let's get better together.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming.
Be good.